Greetings, Marble Sports fans. We are back in El Paso, Texas, under the ever-present Thunderbird Mountain, home to the newly constructed Thunderbird Mountain Stadium, where 32 marble teams from all parts of the globe, as well as over 3,100 excited marble fans, have returned to the stadium for our continuing preseason coverage of this exciting event here on Grandpa Bill's Marble Racing. Welcome back to the Skyway Lanes Trials. Greetings, everyone. I'm Grandpa Bill, your host, welcoming you back to the Skyway Lanes Trials. As a reminder, the Skyway Lanes Trials is an event on the newly constructed Skyway Lanes Marble Sprint Course, and this event features 4 overall events, beginning with event number 1, the 5-yard relay. Once again, each event will consist of 3 phases. Last time we saw the qualifying heats for the 5-yard relay. Today, the 3rd and 4th place finishers from each of those 8 heats will be back today for the Consolation round. And as a reminder, in the Consolation round, we will be scoring points toward the overall championship of the Skyway Lanes Trials, with first place getting a whopping 25 points. 16th place will get nothing, so these marbles will be trying to salvage some points here out of event number 1. And with that, we are back to our continuing coverage of event 1, the relay race. So before we get into today's consolation round, just a quick reminder of the 16 marble teams and how they finished in event 1 of the heats. And we see, starting with Dinosaurs all the way down to High Voltage, each got a point, while the 4th place finishers, beginning with the Berg down to the Snowflakes, got no points. And all of them will be competing for 25 points today. And with that, we are ready for Consolation Quarterfinal 1, the first of 4 quarterfinals here in event number 1, Consolations. So let's take a look at our lane assignments for Quarterfinal 1. It's High Voltage in Lane 1, Valiant Vikings Lane 2, Ambush Bugs in 3, and Spotted Leopards in Lane 4. And now moving down the track, we see the second leg marbles running, and we continue down to the third leg marbles, and then finally the anchor leg marbles. And back up the track, we'll take a look at our starting marbles here. We're about ready to start this event. And here we go. And we see it's Spotted Leopards early on with the lead, but it looks like coming back, Ambush Bug is going to take the lead. Ambush Bug's going to win this thing. Spotted Leopards second. So let's take a look at our relay, folks. We see early on it was Spotted Leopards who had the lead through the first handoff. And they had looked like they were going to go away with this thing. But we see as we get toward the second handoff that quickly the Ambush Bugs have run them down. So Ambush Bugs leads heading into the third leg, and they're going to continue their lead and win this race. So it was Ambush Bugs, Spotted Leopards second. We see well off the pace, it was High Voltage in Lane 3, and then in Lane 2 coming into your picture, it was Valiant Vikings. So let's take a look at our official times for Quarterfinal 1 here in the Consolation round. It's Ambush Bugs finished first at 8.02, a fine time. Meanwhile, Spotted Leopards were second, 8.06. High Voltage got third with a time of 8.91, and Valiant Vikings just over 9 seconds in fourth. And with that, we are done with the Quarterfinal 1. And we are ready for Event 1, the Consolation Quarterfinal 2. So let's look at our lane assignments for Quarterfinal 2. The Tree Folk in 1, it's Venomous Vipers in 2, the Serpents in Lane 3, and Great Whites in Lane 4. Going down to the track, we see the leg 2 marbles, and then the marbles for the third leg, and then finally the anchor leg marbles. And then we are heading back up the track, folks, and we'll take a look at our starting marbles. We're about ready to start. Here we go. And early on, it's going to be the Great Whites taking the lead, but the Serpents on leg 2 have blown by them. Meanwhile, as we get to the third leg, it was too close to call for third place. So let's get straight into our replay, folks. We see as early on in the first leg, Great Whites had the lead, continuing on about midway through the second leg, and that's when the Serpents started to power their way through in Lane 3 and built up a big lead here. We see the other marbles are all pretty close coming out of that leg. So again, it was the Serpents starting to take command here. They were leading in Lane 3 at this point. Lane 1, the Tree Folk, is going to be second, as you see here, but keep an eye on this race for third place, and it's really a close call. We're not going to make the call. We're going to go to a photo finish. Okay, folks, so for the first time here in the Skyway Lanes Trials, we're going to a photo finish here to decide third place, which could certainly impact points in this event. And so you can see on your screen, we've blown it up here. And the key is that you don't look at the track, you look at the checkered flag line, and the officials have determined that by the slimmest of margins, despite being essentially tied, that in lane 2 it was the Venomous Vipers that finished third, while the Great Whites in lane 4 will get fourth. So let's look at our official times for event 1, the Consolation quarterfinal 2, and we see it was the Serpents finishing first with a fine time of 8.03. The Tree Folk were second at 8.14. We see Venomous Vipers and Great Whites both are credited with an 8.19. However, in yellow you note that Venomous Vipers, by virtue of the photo finish, will be awarded third place points relative to the Great Whites. And that's it here for quarterfinal 2. And we are ready for the Skyway Lanes Trials Event 1, Consolation quarterfinal number 3. So taking a look at the lane assignments for quarterfinal 3, it's Intergalactic Pirates in 1, Dinosaurs lane 2, Rose Racers lane 3, and Snowflakes in lane 4. We go down the track and we see the runners for the second leg and now the third leg of the relay. And finally the anchor leg of the fourth leg. And back up the track for the start, we see the leadoff marbles. We're about to start. Here we go. And they're heading down the track. Rose Racers have an early lead, and they are opening that lead up. They're going to win this thing going away. It's going to be too close to call for second. So we are straight into our replay, folks. And as you see from the start, the Rose Racers built an early lead in lane 3. And then we see the Snowflakes for a moment there in the second leg took a brief lead, but Rose Racers picked it up once again. And looking downstream, it was all Rose Racers in this one as they looked extremely quick. Meanwhile, we see Snowflakes had a lead in lane 4, but coming up on them quickly, Intergalactic Pirates. And you see toward the end there, it was very close, but it was indeed the Snowflakes finishing second. Intergalactic Pirates settled for third, Dinosaurs fourth. Let's take a look at our official results for quarterfinal 3, folks. We see in gold the Rose Racers were indeed quick. They set a new course record, breaking the old record held by the Corvids from the heats by .02, by 0.02 of a second, a new course record for the Rose Racers. Meanwhile, the Snowflakes were second with a not particularly fast time, but they beat the Intergalactic Pirates by 1/100th of a second, an extremely close finish there. Dinosaurs were also close behind at 8.92. One other note, folks, for the first time we saw a marble overrun the fourth leg. The Rose Racers' fourth runner, due to a track malfunction with the equipment, overran the fourth handoff along with the equipment, came racing down the track. The ruling and the rule for the track is the extra marble and the track piece did not interfere with either the Rose Racers or any of the competitors, and therefore no penalties assessed. So in other words, had that extra marble run into one of the competitors or push the Rose Racers along, then there would have been a disqualification. That was not the case. So the Rose Racers record will stand, and they will move on along with the Snowflakes. And that's it for quarterfinal 3. You're ready for the Skyway Lanes Trials Event 1 Consolation quarterfinal 4. So checking the lane assignments for quarterfinal 4, it's the Berg in lane 1, Blue Flames lane 2, Unicorn Union in 3, and Raging Cajuns in lane 4. And walking down the track, we see the second leg of the relay, and now the third leg, and finally the fourth leg, the anchor leg of the relay. And then back up top, we see the leadoff runners on your screen, and we're about ready, and here we go. And so far, it's the Raging Cajuns with the early lead, but it looks like the Unicorn Union is passing them. They'll keep the lead. Raging Cajuns will be second, Berg third, Blue Flames fourth. So taking a look at our replay, folks, we see early on it's Raging Cajuns in lane 4 in the first leg, and they have the early lead into the second leg. But meanwhile, we see Unicorn Union passing them as they blow by in the second leg. Unicorn Union takes a lead that they'll not relinquish. Meanwhile, it's Raging Cajuns in second, and finishing third We see in lane 1, it's the Berg who made an effort to try to catch the Raging Cajuns, couldn't get there. Blue Flames finished 4th in this race. So let's look at official times for quarterfinal 4 in the Consolations here, which was a rather slow event. We see Unicorn Union did finish first, but 8.15 was the time. Raging Cajuns were second at 8.22. The Berg close behind them, 8.25. Blue Flames just over 9. And that's it for quarterfinal 4 here in the Consolations. Alrighty, folks, let's take a look at the Skyway Lanes Trials Event 1 Consolation quarterfinals results. So first of all, we see the 8 teams, beginning with Rose Racers down to Snowflakes above the black line, are the teams that finish either first or second in the quarterfinals, and then we'll move on to the semifinals here. Notice the ranking in place starts with 17, with the top 16 are the ones in the championship heat, and the bottom is 32. So this is the second 16 that are in the Consolation quarterfinals. We see the rankings currently for the top 8 are really just at this moment and don't relate to the final result, as it will be determined based on who wins the semifinals and the final heat. In the meantime, we've got them ranked currently based on the time that they achieved in the quarterfinal, and Rose Racers therefore is shown at 17 with their course record time of 7.94. Notice total points in terms of the top 8 have all secured at least 8 points for the 8th place marble team in the semifinals. And while 4 teams, beginning with Ambush Bugs, or 3 teams, excuse me, down to the Serpents and Spotted Leopards, all have 9 points because they got a point by finishing third, in their heat. So along with that, the marbles below the line, 25 through 32, have anywhere between 7 down to 0 points for the quarterfinal result. But also notice there are 5 teams: Venomous Vipers, Intergalactic Pirates, High Voltage Dinosaurs, and Blue Flames, who all got a point in the heats for finishing third. So with that, all marble teams have at least 1 point heading into event 2, and beginning with the Venomous Vipers on down through Blue Flames, those are the final point scores, while 17th through 24th place, they'll have their points determined by the results of the semifinals and the finals of the Consolations. So with that, we are ready to get into the semifinals here at the Skyway Lanes Trials Consolation for event number 1. And in semifinal A, we have the Ambush Bugs, who had the second fastest time in the quarterfinals here at an 8.02, and overall, counting their time in the heats, have been the fastest marble of all the Consolation marbles. Also involved here, it's the Tree Folk, who had the 5th fastest time in the quarterfinals at an 8.14. The Spotted Leopards, who were 4th fastest with a quick time of 8.06. And finally, the Unicorn Union, the 6th fastest, so therefore the slowest of these semifinal A marbles based on their time in the quarters. They were at 8.15. And with that, let's get into semifinal A. Taking a look at our lane assignments in semifinal A, it's Ambush Bugs lane 1, the Tree Folk lane 2, Spotted Leopards 3, and Unicorn Union in lane 4. And then walking down the order, it's the second leg marbles down here. Continuing down the course, we have the third leg marbles in your screen, and finally the anchor leg marbles. A lot of shadows in the track at this time of day. Meanwhile, back upstream, we have the leg 1, the starting marbles. We are about ready for this race, and here we go. And we see early on it's Unicorn Union, but Spotted Leopards had run them down. Meanwhile, it's going to be Ambush Bugs finishing second, Unicorn Union third. So watching the replay of this event, folks, we see early on it's going to be Unicorn Union quick out of the gates in lane number 4 as they reach the first handoff first. They had a lead about halfway down the second leg, but we see it's the Spotted Leopards running them down as we head to the second handoff. And at the second handoff, it was Spotted Leopards with Unicorn Union still in second. And meanwhile, coming in the picture, Ambush Bugs very quickly. Ambush Bugs will start to catch up as we head into the anchor leg. So it'll be Spotted Leopards, Ambush Bugs getting second, Unicorn Union just nipped at the end, and the Tree Folk will finish fourth. So taking a look at our official times here in Consolation semifinal A, we see it was a Spotted Leopards with near course record, just 2 100ths off the course record that was set in the quarterfinals here. The Spotted Leopards finished first. Meanwhile, the Ambush Bugs, who were the top marble coming in the Consolations, finished second and with a strong time of 8.06. A heartbreaking result for Unicorn Union, who was in second place for much of the race. After leading early, they settled for third place with a time of 8.08. Treefolk finished fourth at 9 flat. And that's it for semifinal A here in the Consolation round. And we are ready, folks, for semifinal B here in the Consolation round of event number 1. And we see the marbles involved in semifinal B. It's the Raging Cajuns, who had the 7th fastest time in the quarterfinals at 8.22. In lane 2, it'll be the Snowflakes with the 8th fastest time, the slowest time in the qualifying marbles for the semifinals at 8.81. Meanwhile, it was the Serpents is going to be in lane 3. The Serpents had the 3rd fastest time in the quarterfinals at 8.03, and they were the 2nd fastest marble overall so far in the Consolations if you count the heats. And meanwhile, finally, the Rose Racers, who of course set the course record and had the fastest time in the quarterfinals at 7.94. And we are ready for semifinal B. So once again, it's Rose Racers lane 1, Snowflakes lane 2, the Serpents in 3, and Rose Racers in lane 4 as we walk down the track into the first leg, or the second leg marbles, then the third leg marbles, and finally the marbles for the anchor leg. And heading back up the shadowy track here into the starting marbles, and we are about to start this race. And here we go. And early on, it's the Rose Racers with the lead in lane 4. And moving into the lead, it's now Serpents. Cajuns will be next, and then the Rose Racers. As you watch the replay, folks, we see it was the Rose Racers early on in this event, while meanwhile the Serpents pick up the pace, and they will take the lead into the second handoff. And then as we see from there, the Serpents were going to win this race. Rose Racer had been in second, but as we see in the third handoff, it's going to be Raging Cajuns passing the Rose Racers. So Raging Cajuns will finish second, Rose Racers third, and Snowflakes fourth. So taking a look at our official results from semifinal B here of Event 1 Consolations, we see it was the Serpents with a fine time of 8.03 will be moving to the finals, as will the Raging Cajuns, who came back and finished second at 8.07. Heartbreak for the Rose Racers, our course record holder, who finished just 1/100th off of the pace from the Raging Cajuns. They will finish third. Meanwhile, Snowflakes finished fourth with a good time of 8.20, and we are done with semifinal B and heading to the finals here in the Consolation round. So let's take a look at the Skyway Lanes Trials Event 1 Consolation semifinals. So we see in the top 4 marbles that will be moving on to the finals, it's the Spotted Leopards, the Serpents, Ambush Bugs, and Raging Cajuns. And we see that each of those marbles have a minimum of 12 points heading into the finals. The top 3 shown here, Spotted Leopards, the Serpents, Ambush Bugs, all have 13 points due to the fact that they finished third in the heats. Meanwhile, as we look at spots 21 through 24 with 11, 10, 9, and 8 points respectively, it's Rose Racers, who narrowly missed the finals at a time of 8.08. Notice they had a tie with Unicorn Union, but on the basis of having the better overall time through the heats and the quarterfinals, the Rose Racers will win the tiebreaker, and they will finish in 21st place. Unicorn Union settling for 22nd. We see the Snowflakes and the Treefolk round out the bottom 4 in the semifinals. So with that, we are ready to advance to the finals here of the Consolation round. So taking a look at the 4 marbles in our Consolation finals here of Event 1, it's the Serpents and Ambush Bugs, who both tied so far with an average time of 8.07 through the semifinals in 3 races down this course, folks. In lane 3, it'll be the Raging Cajuns. Their average time for the course was 8.15. And meanwhile, in lane 4, Spotted Leopards had an average time of 8.3 in their 3 runs down the course. So it should be an interesting finals as we see who gets the lion's share of the points for the Consolation finals. All right, so once again in the finals here, folks, the lane assignments, it's a Serpents lane 1, Ambush Bugs lane 2, Raging Cajuns in 3, and Spotted Leopards in lane 4. As we get ready for this Consolation final. Moving downstream, we see the marbles for leg 2, and now the third leg marbles, and then finally the fourth leg anchor marbles for the relay. And as we head back up this sunny course here, folks, we see the starting marbles. We're about ready for this race, and we are about ready. And here we go. Early on, it's the Spotted Leopards first. Meanwhile, the Serpents have taken the lead into the second handoff. Raging Cajuns pull even at the third handoff. But the Serpents are going to win it. Raging Cajuns second. Spotted Leopards third. Ambush Bugs fourth. So as we watch our replay, folks, we see it's the Spotted Leopards taking the lead at the first leg. And they had that lead a little bit in the second leg. Meanwhile, we see in lane 1, it's the Serpents that passed at the second leg. So the Serpents now had a lead as we head into the third leg. And we see by then the Raging Cajuns in lane 3 have taken the lead heading in the fourth leg, but the Serpents blow by them with a nice handoff. Serpents are going to end up first, Raging Cajuns second. Third place, it was the Spotted Leopards. Ambush Bugs finished fourth. So let's take a look at our official times for our Consolation finals, folks. It was the Serpents in lane 1 coming on to finish first with a fine time of 8.01. Raging Cajuns managed to be second in lane 3 at 8.05, while the Spotted Leopards, who ran strong in that race, had to settle for third at 8.08. Ambush Bugs finished fourth in the finals at 8.97. So taking a look at our overall results of the Consolation finals there, folks, we see the Serpents, who finished third in their heat, to get an extra point, have a total of 26 points heading into event 2. Meanwhile, Raging Cajuns, who did not point in their heat, have 20 points. Spotted Leopards and Ambush Bugs both got a point in their heat. They have 16 points and 13 respectively. We see the next 4 were the semifinalists: Rose Racers, Unicorn, Snowflakes, and Tree Folk. Meanwhile, from 25th through 32nd, the marbles that did not get out of the quarterfinals here in the Consolation, it was Venomous Vipers with 8 on down, and we see in 31st and 32nd place, it is Valiant Vikings and Blue Flames, each with a point. So the good news is every marble has a point heading into event 2. The Serpents and Raging Cajuns feel a lot better about their standing at this stage of the game. And next episode, folks, it will be the finals here in Event 1. Thanks for watching Grandpa Bill's Marble Racing. To make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming action, press the subscribe button on the bottom of your screen and stay tuned after the credits for the next exciting video from GBMR.